Good day, everyone. We are going to present our research entitled Effectiveness of Online Distance Learning and Modular Distance Learning in Teaching Junior High School Science 10. The presenters are Mr. Joem Ivan Babao, Mr. Leo G. Landeza, and yours truly, Irene Vallespin.
According to Shitov and others, 2015, shaping a nation is an important role that plays by education. That is why universities is preparing skilled graduates for a life which is unpredictable. However, according to Alvarez 2020, that the threat brought by coronavirus had made a huge impact in all sectors of the society, especially the educational system. And according to TRIA 2020, that since the pandemic continuously challenging the educational system, new normal should be put into concern in sustaining quality education despite the lockdowns and community quarantine. On the other hand, distance learning tool is offering and thereby providing anytime, anywhere forms of education. That is from Ensaya and Buwadi 2015. According to Cavano 2001, Gilbert 2015, and Nguyen 2015, that online learning allows students to work in a place where they find suitable in their specific needs. It gives new experience and widened resources. And Cheta 2020 added that there is no significant difference between online learning and face-to-face in terms of learning outcomes. However, Central Luzon conducted a survey which reveals 41% of parents prefer modular approach. And similarly, in the article of Arcilia 2020, 8.8 million Filipino parents prefer that the children take modular approach or modular learning. This modular instruction is the latest innovation in the field of educational system and never new in the tertiary level according to Guido 2014. In the press release of DepEd, crisis posed by COVID-19 caused DepEd to give release of alternative or to give alternatives to deliver quality education. Self-learning modules are delivered in printed form in areas that cannot access internet to ensure that the basic education is accessible amidst the pandemic. Um, modular learning, modular learning enables the learner to have control over his learning and teaches the learners to become responsible in learning according to Sedgefall 2013. Until now, according to Al Saati and others 2016, that scholars have been debating in which mode of education is effective. Next slide, please. And and our objectives And our objectives aims to describe socioeconomic profile of the learners. Second, determine if there's a significant improvement in the scores of student taught using online distance learning approach and the modular distance learning approach. Third, determine if there's a significant difference in the scores of student taught using online distance learning approach and the modular distance learning approach. And lastly, identify the factors affecting the performance of the online distance learning students and modular distance learning students in terms of teacher, facilitator, student, triad, and content of the module.
Research methods. The purpose of the study was to examine the effectiveness of two learning modalities offered by Agusan del Sur College Incorporated to learners in teaching Science 10. In order to test the effectiveness of the learning modalities, the researchers administered pre-test and post-test examination and floated survey questionnaire to assess other factors that hindered their learning with the modality they have chosen. With this, conclusions were derived from the results in examination and data from survey questionnaire. Okay, for the participants of the study utilized proportionate stratified random sampling technique since the population was already divided into two groups which were the online distance learners and the modular distance learners. So in Agusan del Sur College, there are 140 students who who were enrolled in grade 10 for the school year 2020 to 2021. And 95 students from the total population opted to choose modular distance learning, while the remaining 45 students have chosen online distance learning. Since there is an equal distribution of participants to both modalities, calculations were done to know who among the students will represent the group. Sample size were determined the formula as follows. We have the infinite and finite population formula. So the sample size needed for modular distance learning, the total population of modular distance learners is 95, and the sample size needed is we have 70 students. And for online distance learners, we have a total of 45, and the sample size needed is we only need to have 33 students. So there are 103 total number of respondents. For research instrument, the study used two research instruments, which are the survey questionnaire and the pre-test and post-test questionnaire. Okay, for the survey questionnaire, it composed the family background, available gadgets, internet connectivity, and factors affecting their learning. Both modalities were crafted with separate survey questionnaire to further assess other factors that hinder learners in learning the expected competency of the subject set by the Department of Education. The crafted survey questionnaire were validated by research experts of the school named Hyacinth Abarca and Mr. Richard Alfeo. They are both practical research teachers of Agusan del Sur College Incorporated in senior high school department. Before the survey questionnaire were floated to the respondents, pilot testing was done to ensure a valid and reliable research instrument. For pre-test and post-test, there were 10 same questions for both modular distance learning and online distance learning. Each test questionnaire was based on the most essential learning competency quarter 2, week 1 by the Department of Education. The questionnaire was validated by the science coordinator of the school before it was floated to the respondents. For modular distance learners, the pre-test and survey questionnaire were given during the release of quarter 1, week 8, which means 1 week prior to quarter 2, week 1. Pre-test was administered to assess the knowledge of the learners about the subject matter and were returned during the submission of the quarter 1, week 8 modules and release of quarter 2, week 1 modules. Same went to the online distance learners where the pre-test and survey questionnaire were administered using the Google form. For data analysis, the data were analyzed with appropriate statistical tool using the JASP software, specifically the Wilcoxon non-parametric test, since the data is not normally distributed. It is a free and open source graphical program for statistical analysis supported by the University of Amsterdam. The hypothesis of the study was tested using paired sample t-test and descriptive statistics.
For the results and discussion, from the data gathered, the profile of the modular learners has shown that, based on the monthly income of the parents of the students, 37 students out of 70 students were categorized as low-income class, followed by 33 students belonging to poor family having monthly income of 9,520 and below, while 3 of them were categorized or classified as low-middle income class. For the online distance learners, 20 students out of 33 students were categorized as low-income class, followed by 10 students belonging to low-middle income class, and 3 of them belong to poor family. The categorization of monthly income was based on the study conducted by Jose Ramon G. Albert, Angelo Gabriel F. Santos, and Jana Flor Bismanos last 2018 entitled Profile and Determinants of the Middle Income Class in the Philippines. With this gathered data, it clearly shows that students considered the monthly income of their parents in choosing learning modality for this school year. This also coincides with the data on availability of gadgets in home by the students. Students opted to choose modular distance learning approach since most of them, they only have smartphones, which is primarily for communication. While for online distance learners, aside from smartphones, which they can use for online classes, they also have other gadgets such as laptop, personal computer, and tablet. Pre-test and post-test examinations were administered to both groups, modular and online learners. The topic in science that was included in the examination was all about electromagnetic spectrum in physics. Since our study falls on the second quarter of the academic calendar set by the Department of Education. Results were analyzed using Wilcoxon non-parametric tests since our data are not normally distributed. The null hypothesis, there is no significant difference in the scores of students taught using online distance learning approach and modular distance learning approach, was rejected at 0.05 level of significance, suggesting that both modalities are effective to use. The data presented clearly shows the significant improvement of learners, both in online and modular distance learning. The scores in the post-test examination in both learning modalities are significantly higher. The study further concluded that the learning modalities offered by the school are effective to use in this new normal. Despite of the effectiveness of the modalities offered by the school, learners have experienced difficulty in acquiring learning at homes. There are instances that learners seek for people who would help them in answering the modules. According to the results or the responses of the modular distance learners in the survey questionnaires, one of the factors that hindered their learning in science was associated to lack of knowledge of the parents to the topic. 18 students responded strongly disagree, and 5 students responded disagree. This factor gained 31.44 as net agreement rating, which can be interpreted as good compared to others. Contextualized curriculum helps students to learn skills using the authentic context in which students use those skills in the real world. Learners will be able to comprehend the topic if it relates to real-life situations. In the case of online learners, for factor D in the survey questionnaire, which is the content of the online platform, learners responded to statements 2 and 3 with net agreement rating of 33.33 and 18.18 respectively. This entails that learners are less likely to agree with the statement. Teachers must create content in the online platform which promotes higher order thinking skills and activities are problem-based, which can be applied to real-life situations. With this, it is evident from the data analysis that modular distance learning and online distance learning are effective to use, that there was significant difference in median scores to both modalities, showing high significant improvement in their pre-test to post-test examination in Science 10. The current findings suggest that though there is total absence of face-to-face classes and alternative learning approaches were used by the school, it doesn't necessarily create less effective learning environment since the learners have the freedom with regards to time as to when they are going to answer activities set for them. Factors affecting learning of the students are associated to lack of knowledge of the parents towards topics in science, and content in the online platform does not promote higher order thinking skills, and activities cannot be applied to real life situations. With this, the researchers would like to recommend the following. This research proved that the modular and online distance learning approaches are effective approach in order to teach students in science. These methods can be applied widely to other subjects as well as other level of education because these approaches have the ability to fulfill the diversified needs of learning of students of all levels. And series of studies on the conduct of pre-test and post-test examinations to learners both learning modalities should be carried out when pandemic ends. And that ends our research presentation. Thank you so much.